Going live. Let's see. Okay, we're live. All right, so we're going to talk about animal rights. First, I just want to go over something. So, as far as our past laws, we have three for animal rights, which is no dehorning, no hot branding, no forced breeding, and no pet selling. And then a couple animal rights ones did not go through, which is outlawing all farm animals and then also outlawing search and rescue and police dogs. So I think what we got to do, since we decided not to outlaw farming, but we did outlaw stuff like dehorning. I think we have to figure out like what an amount of space would have to be that bulls aren't going to harm themselves and others with their horns, because I think that was the main concern of the people that didn't want to outlaw dehorning. Is the reason you do the dehorning is so the bulls don't harm each other and people. And I'm less worried about the people, since the people choosing to have the bulls can figure out how to not get hurt by them. But if bulls are harming each other, similar to like piglets when they're in small areas, they'll like kind of cannibalize each other's tails and stuff. Do any of you guys know anything about like regulations or what's ideal for an animal like a bull as far as a caged area that we would consider it a reasonable amount of space to be in?
I have experience with buffaloes and cows.
Okay.
Okay, so if, if they're roaming around and even if you don't have a huge area, that works. But when they're trying to sleep and they're sitting down, at that time it's really important that they have a area clean and a bigger area nearby. Because when that's not happening, they are usually restless.
Okay.
That's something I have personally noticed.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Okay.
So those are cows that haven't been dehorned.
Sorry, I can't hear you clearly, buddy. Dylan.
Those are cows that haven't been dehorned.
So I personally dehorn my animals because
Are
there were
you
so
have
many injuries. Yes, I do that because so many injuries, so many times that personally I can't take it anymore because it costs money, it costs time. So it's really easy to shape that horn in a way that it won't hurt other animals accidentally. It's really important.
Okay. And that's even with a big area?
Sorry, even with
Th-
the big area, because these animals have a tendency to fight with each other.
Gotcha. Okay. So that means for the vote, you voted not to outlaw dehorning.
Because the dehorning, what happens in other farms, they they have nerves in their horns.
Mm-hmm.
What I do, I just cut out the points, the point which can literally hurt and poke something else. I don't do
Okay.
the complete dehorning, but I do cut the certain parts.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, I think that's definitely worth looking into. Let's see. So, aside from that, the only two notes I have for things to vote on in the near future is I want to vote on an idea I came up, well, not I came up with, but an idea I formed in a way that I think is passable, that's similar, that is based on something Travis wanted, which is about wildlife. And so I think we're going to have a vote soon to have it basically just be decided in our society that we will have people that patrol wildlife and put animals out of their misery. So in cases where they see animals with like broken legs and stuff like that. So I think we're going to put that to a vote. Does anybody think there should be any specific detail put to that one?
I mean, there could be a variation of this where they, I guess, try to nurse them to health if they can, and put them out of their misery if they can't.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, and that probably would be based on if a vet is one of the people going with, they could they could nurse them to health then. Are you thinking that they should bring them back to our civilization and take them to a vet, or just if they can nurse them to health out in the wild?
Mm, I mean, they could have an establishment that's not as close to our civilization, more in the wild, but not sure as.
Gotcha. What do you think, Travis?
Can you repeat that?
Yeah, so for the idea of patrolling wildlife, Dillian was saying that maybe we should attempt to nurse them back to health versus putting out of their misery. So if we were to stumble across an animal that had like a broken leg, do you think that we should be spending time trying to bring them back to our society to heal them and put them in a zoo or something, or should we put them out of their misery?
Oh
Or
no, not put them in a zoo.
okay.
That's definitely not what I said.
Oh yeah, no, just the variety of different options. Oh, Travis is
Oh,
gone.
Travis.
Oh, he's back.
Oh, did I disappear?
You
Yep.
disappeared, but you came back right away. But yeah, so what would it look like for you? Not like your overall picture of like would you wipe out an entire species, but just if our society was going to go patrol and we found like we had a group of professionals that would go and find animals that were suffering. What would it look like? Would we try to save some of them? Would we put them out of their misery? What are your thoughts?
I think it would depend on the type of animal.
Okay,
How?
well, can you give me a couple scenarios?
Yeah, like, well, first of all, we'd want to make a determination of like how likely is it that we're going to nurse them back to health. And then also, it's going to depend on the species of animal. Like certain animals, I don't think I'd want to let back into the wild. Like certain types of predators.
Yeah, gotcha.
Mhm.
Okay, so in your mind, if there was a predator that could be healed pretty easily, but because they're a predator and they're going to bring more harm, we wouldn't heal them. We'd just put them out of their misery. But if there was a deer with a broken leg, it could be worth mending the leg and then putting it back in nature.
I don't think it would apply to all predators. It would depend on the specific type of predators, but yes, I would be. If it's a predator, I would be more concerned with releasing it back into the wild than like I'd be more I think herbivorous animals would be I'd have a different standard for herbivorous animals versus carnivorous animals.
Gotcha. Okay. Isaac is here. One of our two Isaacs, Isaac L. Hey Isaac, what would you say, considering that in this society, that our animal rights laws currently are no dehorning of farm animals, no hot branding, no forced breeding, and no pet selling. Can you think of a law or two that you think should go in place, or are you disappointed with any of the laws that are in place?
Yeah, I'm pretty happy with most of what we have so far. If I were to put a law in place, it would probably be along the lines of like how much square footage an animal should be entitled to, but that's very species dependent and stuff. But I think that'd probably be like the next step to look for, because farming is still legal. If last I checked, for
I
us,
do
right?
have another law that I'd like to propose about animal rights.
Okay, well, hold on real quick. Let me have Isaac throw out his thing, and then we'll go to yours in one sec. But yeah, Isaac, we were actually just talking about that because I was mentioning how we have the dehorning law, but if you put that in effect and you don't have enough space for the cows for the bulls, then they'll harm each other. So yeah, I think you're right, and I think that's a good next step to look into. Aside from the space, do you have another one on the top of your head?
Yeah, I think there should be a regulation in terms of like the nutrition that they're fed as well.
Ooh, okay. Let's see. Farm animal nutrition. Yeah. Cool. Do you have any thoughts on that? Like, do you know of any specifically, or do you just know that us humans happen to feed animals garbage food?
Yeah, just the second, I just know we are pretty bad with that. So,
Do you think that it should be legally enforced, something similar with like dog and cat food, where like the FDA should be more stringent on not putting cardboard in dog food?
yeah, I do.
Gotcha. Cool. Okay. Travis, do you, unless anybody has thoughts on what Isaac just said, Travis, what's your proposal?
Yeah, so since the proposal to ban animal farming failed, I'd like to propose a modified ban, just banning factory farming.
Okay. Now I think it might be hard to list it as factory farming. Like I think removing stuff like the horning and the hot branding is part of factory farming, but I wonder if we would have to break it apart piece by piece, like whatever we think makes us view factory farming as factory farming. Like for cows, there's like feedlots, and for pigs, there's like the cutting off of tails and the teeth, and then the space they're in. Do you think there's a one sentence way we could do it, or do you think we'd have to break it apart?
I mean, I think you could just say like ban uh, factory farms because there's going to be. You could say like ban like concentrated animal feeding operations, or because I think that's what like the legal definition, how it's considered in law. So we could just say that and then have that banned.
Gotcha. Yeah, I'm trying to imagine the breaking down of like if something's illegal, then anything close to that that isn't that would be legal. So I'm trying to imagine like a farm that is told what they're doing is illegal, so then they have to do something close to it that is not illegal. So I don't know if for each animal it would be a different amount of space that makes it like if we went into a farm and saw it and we were to say, "Oh, this is illegal," what would they have to do differently to make it legal that we could define, I wonder.
Numbers of caregiver on every animal.
Say that one more time.
Numbers of caregiver. How much numbers of? If they are gonna have a lot of animals, they should have sufficient numbers of caregivers as well, who can make sure that animals are not in trouble.
Yeah, that might be hard to regulate. I wonder, there could be something that's similar to like at restaurants they have a health inspector go and show up and make sure things are fine. Maybe at the farms that we do allow, there could be like a animal health inspector that makes sure that farmers aren't letting their animals suffer in different ways. I don't know if you could force a farm to have like a certain amount of workers that they call caregivers, but yeah, I don't know. That's
Like,
definitely worth
I don't
thinking
think
about.
it's gonna be hard to regulate. It's just simple math. If you have, let's say, 20 workers, you can have 100 cows, and if you want 120, you need another one. Or that's not the math, but
Yeah.
you need another four. No. Okay, I can do math now.
You're fine. You're fine. Okay, I'll make a note of it for sure. Cool. All right. Any other ideas? Vaibhav, you talked to me about something about not being able to own animals as property. Can you expand upon that a little bit?
Yes, so it should be a guardianship, not ownership. So you can have animals at your home or at your farm or whatever. If you have a place and you have animals there, you are responsible for those animals like you are responsible for kids in your garden. So rules should be almost similar. That there will be a regular checkup. There will be a certain percentages of amount it will take from you if you're making money out of your animals. For example, on social media or giving rights to other people, anything. If you're making money out of it, you're supposed to give a certain percentage. And that money can be used for these things.
Where are you saying that percentage of money would go? Like, so say there was a dog actor where somebody owned a dog and they let their dog be in movies. And then there's payment because of the dog being in movies. Are you saying that the owner has to buy their dog certain things with the money, or what was it?
So it should be like, okay, if the dog you're taking care of the dog, so you're entitled to a certain percentage for yourself as well. But at the same time, you have to keep certain amount for that animal's care. Plus, you should give us like 10%, 20%. I'm not so sure about percentage, but that money can be used to regulate these things. But we can't ask people to pay taxes for these basic things. People will never agree with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just want to ask, like, how can you be a caregiver if you're eventually always going to be sending all your animals to slaughter? I mean, not your animals, because
Okay, so it's
animals.
it depends on how. For example, if let's say I am a person who sells animals, I don't, but let's say I am. So and I have a cow for 6 months. But in that 6 months, I'm supposed to make sure that that cow is not injured, and even if that cow gets injured, someone help that cow immediately. So these basic things, basic hygiene of animals and the places they live in. So these things can be done by caregiver.
Okay, but if you don't own them, then they have freedom to do basically whatever they want, so they can go wherever they want. Or
I
So
think
they
he's saying it
already
would be.
have that freedom.
no,
I think he's
it's
saying. I think he's saying it'd be more like how we view children, where we don't necessarily view them as property because you can do a wrong thing and lose your child. I think he's saying like if a social service person showed up and your dog was being harmed, then you could lose your dog, and maybe same with
Yes,
farm animals, and you'd be fined or something.
it will be difficult to apply on farm animals, but it's possible for service animals and pets. I don't know how are we gonna enforce how can we enforce this on farm animals, because that's kind of difficult.
Yeah, so it's a pet thing. So
Yes.
okay, so it'd be some kind of law where because we outlawed pet selling and we outlawed pet breeding. So people that have pets, their pets can mate on their own, and people can give new puppies and whatnot away to people. You just can't sell them legally. Um, but so since animals can still be owned as pets, that there would be some kind of a social service set up to check on pets and make sure they're not being harmed or they're being treated well. They look like they live in good condition. Okay, does this idea sound reasonable and good to others? Let's go with Isaac. Do you think it would be reasonable to have dogs checked up on, or is that invading on people's privacy too much?
No, I think that's reasonable, and I'm a little surprised that there isn't something like that in place in the current system. So, yeah, I'm all for that.
What would you say would be a good, like once a year, or is that too much or too little?
I think that when owners first get their animals, it should be more often, but then as they pass the tests or whatever, the longer they own them and have proven to be good owners, the less often it needs to happen. So, like initially, maybe once a year, and then like once they've done that for like 5 years or whatever, then it's every 3 years, then every 5 years, and maybe every 10 years or something until the animal dies. So,
Okay. Travis, what about you?
Um, yeah, I think I would support such a law.
Okay.
Mm.
Um, is there
yeah,
any? Oh yeah,
I
Dillian, what's up?
say yeah, I agree with Isaac, but I just want to add in the checkups should probably be random. Like there
Yeah,
shouldn't be a schedule for the checkups.
Perfect.
yeah, that's fair. Um, since we're talking about pets and checkups, do any of you have an idea of an animal that you think should not be allowed to be a pet? Now, I think in general, I don't think animals should be pets, but if we're allowing pets, I think there are certain animals that I would say are on the top of my list, like something like a snake. You can't really bond with a snake the way you might be able to with a dog. And so there's no real argument other than humans wanting to have this thing captured and they think it's cool. On top of that, you have to breed. Well, we can't forcefully breed animals, but as of now, you have to breed mice and other rodents to feed the snakes. Would you guys be in favor of outlawing snake pet ownership? And aside from that, do each of you have an idea of a pet you want to be outlawed like that?
Yeah, how about carnivorous animals?
Yeah, that
Okay,
was what I was gonna say.
okay, carnivorous
Because
pet
I
owner.
mean,
Okay,
for dogs and cats, we also need to breed animals and feed them.
okay. Um, have you guys done much research on it? I don't know much about it, but so here's my thing. Well, I don't think we should have pets at all, so it works out for me that the vegan cat idea doesn't matter to me. But I have a good friend that is really good with research and has looked at a lot of studies, and it turns out there's a lot of vegan cat foods that cats can thrive on because of the added taurine and whatnot. My go to, I usually imagine that a good diet for any animal, including humans, is something natural, not because it's natural, but just the likelihood of man made processed stuff is probably going to be worse than other things. So I imagine a cat and a dog, health wise, not moral wise, will be better off eating wild animals like fish and mice and all the chickens, whatever they find. Does anybody here have you guys done much research, or are you in favor of like vegan cat food and vegan dog food?
I'm not. I oppose that idea.
Okay, so you are in favor of owning cats and dogs, but you do think they should be fed like free range type.
We have a method to feed them without increasing any harm in the world. So
What's
What is
that?
it?
I'd rather give them waste product of chickens, which I give to my animals, but I don't want them to have vegan food because that really doesn't work for them in a long term.
Okay, if the
There are
world went
vegan dogs in
vegan,
the
if the world went
yes.
vegan, would you say that at that point we shouldn't own
In
the
that
carnivorous
will
animals?
Yes, in that situation, we'll have to let all our dogs go out.
Okay, Dillian, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, I would say I'm in favor of the vegan food. I mean, it's just it it's I think it's ridiculous to have to feed probably hundreds of animals just so you can have I guess the novelty. It's not novelty, but just so we can have a pet.
Yeah.
It's
Okay.
stupid.
Okay. What do you think of Vahav saying that the only stuff he will feed his animals are byproducts?
I mean,
So potentially no animals are being killed for it, but the products that would be wasted are being given.
hmm. I mean, it would be better than having just giving them straight up meat, but
Hmm.
still not ideal.
Okay.
So just a second,
Mhm.
for Dylan, it financially works as well because the people they have to throw it and they have to pay certain amount in your currency about $5 a day, and in order to save that money, they deliver. Now they have started to deliver that waste product to my place, and now I can get it for free and give it to my animals after boiling it, of course. So it helps them, it helps me, and for pet owners, they can go and get it, and they can even buy it if it's required. So there is actually no additional harm to animals or us.
So there is no additional harm within the current system that is inherently harmful.
Yes, and
So
that system isn't going anywhere for a long time. It will
mm,
reduce with time for sure, but when it
yeah, I know
reduces,
that's
we
so
can change our methods.
usually because it's not going away in a long time in real life, I wouldn't focus on the pet stuff. But as I'm saying, uh, if I were to give my opinion, I would say we shouldn't own pets at all.
And I agree with you. We shouldn't, but we do.
We- Yeah, and I guess there would be a transitional period where there would be a lot of homeless animals, and I guess we should adopt these homeless animals because they have been domesticated, and when they're homeless, I can, I think they would experience a lot more suffering than just wild animals that haven't been domesticated.
One of my the organization I used to work with, I don't work anymore, but they used to pick up stray dogs and cats. They used to done a simple surgery with them, they take care of the animals for a couple of days, and let them go back in the on the road.
Sorry, what
It
surgery?
sorry,
What
uh,
surgery?
so they can't have kids anymore. So
They just
female cats won't get pregnant, and male won't have any
yeah,
sperm.
okay, yeah, that's the idea, I guess.
Yeah, in the
You would
ideal
have,
world, we shouldn't have these animals. Shouldn't even exist in the ideal world.
yeah.
Um, real quick, we got Cliff Grant here in the comments with a couple anecdotes, which sound great. One of the oldest dogs who ever lived was a dog named Bramble, who lived 28 years on a plant-based diet. Cliff says that his own dog is 13 and thriving. Dogs are omnivores. Fact. Okay. So Travis, let's go to you real quick. So you say no pets that are carnivores, but would you say if we can make them vegan food, that those pets are okay?
No, I would prefer don't have we still don't have those pets around.
Oh, okay.
And I would
I
actually
think
prefer that we don't have any pets at all.
yeah.
Okay. But most
We're
importantly, the
over with the
carnivores.
carnivorous animals. We're over complicating things just to have them around.
Gotcha. Isaac, what are your thoughts on the pet situation?
I feel like if we're allowing farming for feeding humans, then we should be fine with farming for feeding pets. I also am not a huge fan of, just having pets in general, but since farming is legal, I guess we might as well utilize it, especially if we can use different, parts of the animal or meats that we don't generally use for human consumption. That would be good for pets to eat. So, um, I'm not against vegan pet food by any means. Like I'm, for it, but uh, I mean, since we have already, decided that farming is legal, I feel like we should apply the same standards for, our pets as we do for us.
Yeah, that's a fair point. Um, yeah, so I guess anybody that was in favor of keeping farming allowed would probably feel that way, and then anybody that voted to end farming altogether would probably feel against that. So yeah, yeah. Okay, anything else? Can anybody think of anything with pets that if they're going to exist? Any other details about pets?
I
Doing the
just wanted to
welfare?
answer that comment. I
Oh
just
yeah,
want
yeah,
to
go for
answer
it.
that comment. So he said that there was a 28, 29-year-old dog, vegan dog.
Oh, Cliff,
That's
yeah.
Yeah,
yeah. So that's entirely possible. There are certain breeds of dogs which can have vegan food and they'll be fine. But at the same time, there are other dogs who needs meat. In the long term, they'll lose their hair. They won't be comfortable with their body. They'll have uh, breathing issues. That really happens in real world. So we understand that it's not an ideal situation where we're killing other animals and using that body to feed our dogs. But if it's a waste, it's fine with me. But vegan food is not for all dogs and cats. It can work with some, but are we really gonna take chances with our animals we have?
So, Vibe, is that your name?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Uh, I haven't done much research on vegan pet food, and I don't know if you have, but uh, I just I just feel like you haven't.
Okay.
Well, let's say okay, Vaibhav,
It's
let's say so. Here's my understanding with the studies. They'll do a study with a certain amount. They'll take like 1,000 or 5,000 cats, and they'll have them on a vegan diet, and then they'll have like 5,000 cats, not on a vegan diet, and then they'll test all their health outcomes after a few years. Now, my concern is a cat on a very good vegan diet with taurine added is going to be as healthy or healthier than the cat on the standard American or other country pet cat food. And in that sense, since we currently have that, if the studies show that, I'm in favor of the vegan cat food. My concern is cats out in the wild. Not that cats would be out in the wild, but there's bigger cats. But if they were out in the wild and they were eating chickens and mice, not that I'm in favor of that suffering either, I'm guessing they would be 1,000 times healthier than they are eating vegan pet food or just your standard store meat pet food, because I think humans just make horrible food for pets. But Vaibhav, if they were equal, if you saw the study, would you become in favor of it?
Actually, I saw few studies. Vegan food is nutrition wise, vegan cat food and dog food is nutrition wise almost similar. That's not the concern, but how their body processes it's different. And if let's say there is no long term harm, I'm okay with it. And I you don't really want cats out in the wild because cats are the reason like for 14 to 15% of deaths of birds,
yep.
second after buildings. So you really don't want stray cats or small cats in the wild. So I'd rather finish them all as painless as possible. But I don't think we should think about freeing cats from domestic setting.
I mean, we don't have to. Did you say kill them all or?
Stop
Oh
breeding
yeah,
completely. Make it illegal
you can just castrate them, right?
and capture and do what? Give them vegan
Castrate.
food and give them vegan cat food.
No, I said castrate.
Sorry, cat. I'm not getting it.
Castrate and make it so they can't reproduce.
Yeah, that's the best idea.
Fix them. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the best idea. I'm perfectly okay with it.
Hmm.
Okay, so I'm looking it up. Herbivore pets. We have guinea pigs. We have rabbits. Let's see. And then let's see. Okay, yeah, there we go. Rabbits, guinea pigs, tortoises. I feel bad tortoises. They always seem like they're in pain because they move so slow. Gerbils. It's a lot of rodents. Parakeets. I feel really bad when birds are in cages. Anybody here in favor of herbivore birds being pets? Are we pretty much mostly here all anti-pet?
I
Just all
think
around?
so.
Okay,
That's a
cool. Okay.
possibility.
I'm
Yep.
usually the only one in the room that's anti-pet, and I get it. People have cats and dogs, and they view them as part of their family. I no disrespect at all. Okay, so is there any? I wrote down racing animals. I don't think it happens much anymore, but in the U.S. there's like dog races and some stuff like that. Is it fair to say that any animal or any sports that animals are made to play for money purposes or even shows, should we outlaw if we are going to have dogs and cats in our society and that's not outlawed, should we outlaw taking them to shows to show off how they can hop over stuff and be pretty
Yeah.
looking?
Completely
Definitely.
outlawed. That should be outlawed completely.
Okay.
Shows, races, dog races, horse races, bullfighting.
I don't even like acting animals. Animals who work in shows and movies. I think that's a bad idea.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Phil is in the comments pointing out, I'm not sure exactly how to pronounce it, but the capybaras, that second video I sent in the group message about our society's mascot animal. He's pointing out that those are herbivores and enjoy people's company, so that's good. He said those can be our pets. Let's see. I was going to ask. Oh yeah, because we were talking about racing animals and that kind of stuff. I'm curious to hear anybody's take on. There's a vegan gains thing that he gets a lot of shit for, but a lot of people agree with him, which is he adopted like a rescue horse himself, and he has it at a place and keeps it well, and he rides it because he thinks he claims that that's best for the horse, like to get the exercise from riding it. Does anybody here agree that there would be cases where it would be good to ride something like a horse if you rescued it from like a horse racing place? So now it's getting a better life to live out. But yeah, anybody have thoughts on that?
Yeah, I haven't watched Vegan Gains for years, and that is just bizarre to me. Like, what?
Travis, what do you have you heard about this, or do you have thoughts on that?
No, I haven't heard about that before.
Okay.
He rides a horse.
Yeah, he has his own horse and he rides it, but he says that the general consensus from professionals is that the horse is having a better life being ridden because being ridden kind of make it have the exercise it needs, where if it doesn't get that exercise, it's having a less healthy life. I
Are
would
those
think
the
you
same? Are those the same professionals that tell you that cows have a better life when they're being milked?
right? Yeah, I don't know. Okay.
So
Oh, somebody started
hello,
talking.
hello.
Oh, okay. What
Yep.
were you saying?
Okay, okay. Now I can hear you. Now, yeah, okay.
Okay.
So I don't like really like vegan games, but I have thoughts because I recently adopted two horses. The horses are quite old, so we are not supposed to ride them. But if they were young, so I was told by the people because people were riding them the whole life or life of those horses. So if they were young, we are supposed to ride them sometimes because those horses like that feeling. It's psychological more than physical health.
It,
Gotcha.
If it's
yeah, I don't know if young horses like it, but for the older horses, it could be something more like Stockholm syndrome, where they've just done it so many times. It's like a habit for them. I don't know.
Gotcha. Yeah. Um. Yeah. I guess probably what's best is to have them in a sanctuary where they're not ridden, or maybe rewilded, and then not breed them any further to have them in the world. Yeah, I don't know.
those surgeries for horses are really difficult, by the way.
What surgeries?
Surgeries for female horses, if you don't want them to breed further, those surgeries are really difficult and complicated.
Hmm.
We breed we have been breeding horses for a long time. Now their bodies have adopted the way that those certain parts are, you really have to cut them on the table and way further in, and horses have a tendency to get infections. So all these things in a calculation, it's not worth it for female horses.
Hmm. I didn't know
Gotcha.
that.
I can hear echo.
I think the echo might be from Travis's. I'm not sure exactly what it is, what element of it. All right. Well, I have a big list, and it seems like it covers most things animal related. Is there anything that anybody else can think of? Maybe something specifically that in the real world happens that is like a specific case of an animal rights situation that we could vote on and break down?
Ear tagging.
Deer tagging?
Yeah, that seems like it's fine. It's not hurting so much. But the problem with that is lot of people. I don't know if it happens in your country or not. Lot of people will cut off the ear of living animals, and they will claim the insurance. That happens in my country. So
They'll
I don't
claim
know
that.
if that happens in your country or not.
I'm not too familiar with it. So what do they do? How do they get the deer and tag it?
So there is yellow tags.
Uh-huh.
They'll punch it in the ear like a ring or something. Now
Mm-hmm.
it can't be removed by pulling, so it's really stuck there. Infection is not a really issue. But what
Mm-hmm.
happens? They will have seen cases where they cut off the ears and claimed the insurance. At least tried few times. So having
Got,
those tags is the issue. You can literally use the use the copy of that nose. You just punch a paper with some ink and you can use that.
Can you
weird.
explain the insurance aspect of it? I know we have deer tagging over here in the States, but from my knowledge, it's mostly used for like research purposes. Um,
We here use it for insurance purposes mostly. We don't do it for research purposes, just to recognize the animal. Because the branding was banned here in 1970s or something. Branding has been banned from a long time. So now they what they do is they just tag it with a yellow cloth or something, and that can be used for insurance purposes later. Because insurance that will isn't gonna come for next 3 or 4 days. So now what we can do, we can bury the animal and keep the ear. That's the standard process.
Okay, well, I'm going to make a note of that to look into that, but I have not heard of that. Deer tagging. Okay. Contrarian 420 in the comments here says, how about barn cats to reduce rodent spoliation and grains of grains and crops? So if we if there are rodents eating up crops and therefore it's legal to have rodenticide to kill these rodents, I'm not sure how painful their death is from rodenticide, but I wonder if it would be better to have cats on farms killing the rodents to give them a quicker death. I don't know if that would be a quicker death. And then that way the cats can live and thrive, but also the the food that we need to survive will keep not spoiling. Yeah, any thoughts on that? Anybody have any guess on if rodenticide is a more painful death than a cat eating you alive?
What is it? I don't know what that thing is.
A
it's a
rodenticide is just a
poison.
poison. Like if you go to a
Oh, oh.
restaurant and you see a little black box on the ground, it's to kill rodents. And so it's at restaurants, it's at homes, it's at farms.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like there are rodenticides, traps, I guess sonic deterrents with sound. By the way, cats, I'm not sure, but I think that another way they would deter and not just kill rodents would be with their body odor and just the presence of a bigger predator. Because
Oh.
I know, because we actually had, it, back when I was living with my parents, we had a problem with cockroaches. We got a cat from the street, and they just disappeared in a few weeks. Like she didn't even kill them.
Oh, crazy. The smell threw him off.
Yeah,
Travis, I know that you have strong thoughts on predators, but does this case seem reasonable to you? Or maybe Travis isn't still there.
It would
there-
depend on the suffering of using the rodenticide versus the cat.
Okay. Okay, so if the suffering is worse with the rodenticide, and if our innovation levels are not that of getting rodents away from our fields any other way, that it would be reasonable to have to basically have the sanctuary for former pet cats be farms.
Can you say that again?
Yeah, so like if basically the only way that we can kill off rats and mice in farms to save our food is rodenticide, and the rodenticide causes more suffering than cats would likely cause, then you are in favor of putting basically if we outlaw having pet cats and we outlaw the forced breeding of them, if we kind of just repurpose them out to farms, like it's so that's their sanctuary is farms to eat rodents, then you're in favor of it in that case.
Yeah, if we're stipulating that the cats cause less suffering than the
Okay.
rodenticide, then yes, I would be in favor of using the
Yeah.
cats instead.
I'm gonna look into that because I'm very curious about that. What Isaac? What are your thoughts on cats living on farms killing mice?
Yeah, one potential issue with that is cats tend to be really bad for local bird populations.
Okay.
One easy way to fix that is by just having them have a bell so that when they go to pounce or whatever, it rings and alerts the birds so they can fly away. So I would like to see that stipulation added. But I don't have anything against the general idea of using them for rodent control.
Will that
Yeah,
hurt the rodents as well?
I'm not sure, but
but
that'd be something interesting to look into if it affects the effectiveness there. But my guess is the rodents are just not as reactive as birds, and birds, can fly, so they're just faster once they're alerted to the ringing, whereas rodents aren't able to get away that fast. So, but that might be completely wrong. I just don't know.
well, one thing that's kind of interesting is millions of birds die every year from eating produce that's grown with pesticides, and or sorry, no, they eat the insects that have the pesticides in them, and so I wonder if the cats were here, if not only if basically if they were kind of forced to be on farms, they would eat the rodents and the birds, but only the rodents and the birds that were going to harm the farmland, and not birds that are just randomly in other places where cats are. Maybe it'd be beneficial in both cases.
And yeah, that's a fair point. Where at least it would be faster suffering potentially for the birds that accidentally eat the rat poison. But and another thing, and this I feel like should be obvious, but just to cover is the cats should be fixed so that they're not just getting feral cat populations popping up all over the place that are uncontrolled.
Yeah, yeah. Interesting, yeah. Um Oh, speaking of interesting things, you guys should look this up at some point. There's this guy that has he has a farm, but he also has like a crazy amount of guinea pigs that live on this farm. It's like tens of thousands of guinea pigs, and they have a barn they can go into, but then they can also come out. And I guess guinea pig poop is like excellent fertilizer, and guinea pigs are herbivores, so they just will eat grass and weeds and stuff like that. So, anyways, it could be interesting if people are worried about not having manure from cows and stuff like that to fertilize farms that have vegetables. Maybe guinea pigs will be a new thing that we we start having farms of fertilized by guinea pigs.
I mean, it's not necessary that you fertilize them with manure at all.
True, true. I
I mean,
just as like a side benefit, if people wanted to have guinea pigs wandering around, just because they happen to be herbivores. But yeah, I think you're right.
I had one, but owl took it away.
Say that again.
sorry?
I had one guinea pig in past, like 5 6 years back. Someone
Hmm.
gifted me, so I kept it. But an owl came and took it away.
Oh, an owl took it. Oh wow, that's wild.
Oh,
Um. All right.
oh yeah, and another thing with rodenticides, birds of prey when they eat the rats, they should probably get the poison as well if the rats have eaten the
Mhm.
rodenticide.
Yeah, yeah. There's definitely a lot of downsides to like. There's a lot of upsides to pesticides and rodenticides, like making us be able to get more food in abundance. But there's a lot of downsides. So I hope in the future we're able to innovate in better ways, having like sound machines that will make certain animals not come by. And then I don't know what we'll do as far as
Certain
pesticides,
frequency
but
can disturb them. Yeah.
yeah. So hopefully, yeah. Okay. Anything else? Any animal rights things that's popping in? I mean, we covered a lot of it.
Cages.
Cages for farm animals.
I mean, for any animals, I guess.
Okay, so if we
Because
have,
you also mentioned pet birds. They're in
Mhm.
cages.
Yeah.
I guess just cages in general.
Okay, so you're okay with there being herbivore pets, but not carnivore pets, and then not herbivore pets that have to be in small cages.
Yeah.
Okay.
And not just pets, farm animals as well.
Gotcha. Okay, so if we outlaw like Travis was saying the factory farming type stuff, then it would mean that essentially people could have like big chicken coops, but also outside grass and stuff for the chickens to run around, and they're not in tiny cages. Um, so
Just
yeah,
tiny enclosures.
yeah, yeah.
Pet insects
Um,
is a good idea.
what
What
is
did you
it?
say?
Pet insects,
Pet insects? Are
like
you being
bees.
serious?
Yeah.
Pet insects. I mean, people
Because
have spiders,
beetles. Because these
beetles,
animals like
ants.
small, dark, cold places, which is easy to provide.
Yeah,
They don't really have. Of course, they do suffer, but not the way we do or other mammals do. So, I'd rather let people have insects than
yeah. By the way,
mammals.
there's a on YouTube. There's this small community of people that are absolutely obsessed with their ant colonies.
Yeah, and
Hmm.
those are best things to have if you are really need some sort of pet.
Hmm. Interesting. And it
Yeah,
might come down to what you have to feed them, but either way, it's probably even if you have to feed like a spider or some crickets or something. When you get down to the insect level, I care a lot less, or at least I haven't been convinced to care
yeah.
more.
They usually feed them other insects.
Interesting. I think it's probably best to leave that out to nature. Let the let the insects be out doing what they're doing. But yeah, if people are gonna if they need a pet, I'd prefer it be that for sure.
I also
Um,
know that some spiders they would feed them with rodents, like with mice.
mhm.
The usually the big spiders.
Gotcha. Um, oh man, I don't like that idea.
Yeah,
Me too. I don't like that. I would that one.
But also maybe it shouldn't be. They shouldn't be able to be sold. Like you couldn't buy insect pets at a pet shop, but if you find an insect and keep it in your house, it's not illegal or something.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah,
Yeah.
we shouldn't give any opportunity to monetize that thing. If you monetize
Yeah.
that thing, people will start breeding them.
Yeah. Yeah. Um,
it's a slippery slope.
Yeah, it is.
okay. So in case we aren't going to be able to have a law specifically on factory farming, I'm going to try to word something really good. And Travis, I'll talk to you further about it and see what we can do. But in case we can't just have that simple wording, is there anything within factory farming that any of you guys think is the worst element of factory farming, aside from maybe stuff we've already banned? Because we have no force breeding, we have no hot branding, and no dehorning. Is there anything?
Cages.
Okay, the cage size.
Yeah, cages. Yeah,
Yeah,
Cage
I mean
shelter is
you
the
have
important
size,
part.
yeah.
you have pigs, and not just in factory farming. I've actually seen in myself in like a small farm where they have I think 4 mother pigs with their piglets, where they're in an enclosure that's so small it's basically just a little larger than their own body, and they cannot even turn around, and they just spend their whole life there.
Okay. Yeah, no, yeah, it's horrible.
Yeah,
Isaac, were you
and the
saying something?
chickens, the egg-layer chickens, the big farms with the battery cages.
Oh, that's yeah, battery cages. Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say that animals should be able to have access to like natural light for their entire life.
Yeah.
Where like when they keep them completely indoors, I think that that's a pretty obvious one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Um, yeah. Anything where they have to cut a body part off, because I feel like with the factory farming, you almost always have to. You have to debeak, you have to dehorn, you have to tail docking, cutting out teeth. But I'm pretty sure, and I'll look into it. But any like free range, like truly free range, where they have a lot of room and there's grass and it's just a farm where there's plenty of room. I don't think they do any of that stuff. I don't think they take beaks off of chickens if they have more room. And I think in the UK it's a lot different too. They have more stringent rules like that. So I definitely want to look into that, because we wouldn't want to make any law that makes animals harm each other more. If we say no cutting off teeth and tails of pigs, and then the pigs are eating each other's tails and stuff like that, then in the same sense that we want to stop breeding of cats and dogs, so we're going to go in and give the female dogs full hysterectomies, remove their uterus. That's what happens with spaying. We're going to do this invasive thing because it's beneficial overall. Depending on the cage limitations, it's beneficial to take off the teeth and tails of pigs, but we should remove that need of it being beneficial.
Yeah, I I don't think that in the UK they have better implemented laws. They just have more propaganda around having better implemented laws.
Oh, really? Okay.
It's I think yeah, there have been quite a few documentaries from the UK. You know, Joey Carpstrong recently exposed this solar house, the big solar house with the gas chambers, and I mean there's some pretty horrible shit happening there.
Yeah. Gotcha.
Yeah, one was Land of Hope and Glory.
Oh, I heard about that. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Oh,
and I think another one is coming up.
all right. Hey, AJ, how's it
Oh,
going?
all right. Hey,
Hey, AJ, where does the J come from?
the what? Ah, the J.
Yeah,
That's
is it
my
your?
middle name. That's my
What?
middle name.
Oh, okay. What?
Jose.
Jose. Okay, okay. Um, so, anybody here know this guy over here in the left corner?
No.
Mm,
Oh,
no.
okay. Then you guys need to find his channel. He has a vegan YouTube channel called Turning Veganese,
Yeah, correct.
and he's also done a handful of debates with me, because we kind of love and hate each other. Is that a good way to describe it?
Oh no,
Lo-
I mean, since
love
I
and
saw
hate?
your how you rated Bleach by Nirvana higher than Disintegration by The Cure, I said no. I just hate Carson now.
There we go. So, as you guys know, I'm very pro welfare, and AJ here is not. But in a society where if we can't do anything about it, but we can change some laws. I know you haven't heard everything we just talked about, but what would you say in the U.S. is probably the number one most important thing to make illegal? If it was one simple thing, not like ending all of farming.
Well, so in the U.S., like, what would be the most important thing?
Yeah, like so for this project, we outlawed dehorning of animals and hot branding and forced breeding
All right.
and pet selling. So that's what we've outlawed so far, because you voted on those as well.
Right.
If we were going to
Wait,
put
did they allow
another,
forced breeding?
what's that?
We did outlaw forced breeding.
We did outlaw force breeding. That
How
one
are
was a
we
cl-
gonna, how are we gonna have animal agriculture if we don't have forced breeding?
That was my question. That's why I'm here.
yeah. So farms can have cows and chickens and whatever they have, and those animals can breed on their own if they do. We just can't modify them to be needed to be bred by us. We can't. We don't have somebody that has a job where they jerk off bulls and inseminate the ladies or whatever. So I'm guessing it would be like whatever farming looked like a couple hundred years ago. I don't know. Who knows?
Also, would putting a male and a female animal in an enclosure be considered forced breeding or not?
I wouldn't think so from
It is.
how
It's
I
basically
worded
that's
it.
what it is.
Yeah, I wouldn't think so. When I wrote that law as an option, I envisioned it as something like humans intervening directly, not just where they put them. So if the animals mate on their own, then so far in our society that would be acceptable.
So artificial insemination is outlawed.
Correct. Yeah. So maybe the force part can be removed and just the artificial can be left. If I worded that poorly. But yeah, I think that's why it panned out that more people wanted to outlaw that, and some people were not in favor of outlawing farming in general because they'd be in favor of something like regenerative farming. Because we have to keep in mind, out of the 25-ish senators, a little less than half are vegans. So, in fact, I don't know if he wants to be called out here, but in this group of 6, even though he sounds very vegan, Isaac's the only one here that's not vegan in this group right here. And Isaac voted to outlaw almost everything on, and a handful of the non-vegans vote to outlaw a lot of those practices. So it'll be interesting to see in this group having a little less than half vegans, which things will outlaw based on what non-vegans.
Only one. I didn't hear you. Sorry.
Isaac here, out of the 6 of us that are in this talking right now, I was saying Isaac is not vegan.
Wait,
Okay.
is Vibe vegan?
What's that?
Is Vibe vegan?
Oh, Vabe have? Yeah.
Yes, I am vegan.
Oh,
Yes, 16 years now.
okay. I did not notice that.
Yeah, that's pretty funny if you thought he was not vegan and Isaac was. But I mean, that's the thing. Veganism is such an interesting thing. Like, we're all humans and we can have different levels of caring about and our approaches for caring for animals. And yeah, anyways. But yeah, AJ, what since you just hopped in here, what is something that you would think as like one kind of easy, simple thing that you would say if this was outlawed, it would make you happier or something?
I mean, when it comes to the animals, you know the answer for me. There's only one thing that would make me happy in a way, or would satisfy what I actually want to happen, which is like, just ban or just don't make animals a property anymore. Like,
Oh,
let's
they
just
have, yeah.
let's just just consider them as individuals, and we can own them in any way.
Okay. What if you could pick one animal that you think is harmed the most by humans? What would you say is that animal?
Most harm, in terms of number of victims, or in terms of the things they endure during their lifespan.
Either way, if you could, if you got the option to press a button and make either pig farming completely illegal or chicken farming completely illegal, would you have reason to pick one versus the other if you could only choose one?
Oh no, I don't know. I would be too. It's too tough, because if I'm like, I have to choose either one. I don't know. Like, I would just cover my eyes and just push blindly, because
Oh, okay.
there's no way to choose that. Like, for me, they're just the same. They're individuals anyway. So it's not a matter of, oh well, this, if we ban this one, it'll be better for like the environment or this thing. Doesn't account for me. So yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. So in your perfect world, which is something like mine, where humans would just have no contact with animals, I've been going over this idea a little bit, partially due to Travis over here. Um, I know, AJ, you're not in favor of taking out the predators, but are you in favor of humans going into the wild, and if they find animals that are suffering and the animals are going to die, putting them out of their misery?
I mean, I don't know. I'm really just like, I'm all for the separation of humans and animals. So to me, it's like going into the wild to do anything. I don't know. It depends on the case. Because to me, if it's a man-made thing, like for example the Australian fires that kill all those koalas and all that wildlife, that's our doing. That's totally our doing. So we owe it to those animals to try to do what's best for them, whatever. And if they're suffering too much, then yeah, maybe put them out of their misery, like you say. But if it's like their own thing that they're doing and has nothing to do with us, I don't see the responsibility to do any of that.
Okay.
I think
Travis,
we're-
do you? Oh,
Yes. I'm
Dillian,
sorry.
what's up?
Yeah, I was gonna say I think we're at a point like as a civilization where we've changed so much stuff that pretty much everything that's happening could be in some way attributed to our uh to whatever we're doing. It's like we're a very disruptive species, so uh yeah, I'm not sure if that's the only thing we can attribute to humans. Just yeah.
Wait, can you say that again? I don't know if I followed that.
No, I'm just saying that we've pretty much changed things so much that I think it's pointless to think in terms of okay, well, this is we shouldn't mess with nature altruistically because we're messing with nature, and that's bad because well we're doing it in so many other ways, and it's almost like this is used as an attack to somebody that is thinking about doing something in nature that's altruistic, such as reducing suffering of animals. That's what I'm trying to say.
Okay. So if you were going to set up a plan to go out and affect wildlife in some way, what would be the first? What would be the first thought? The most important thing you can think of right now?
So that what you said about the suffering animals, I would say yeah, that's a good start. With the predators thing, I don't think that we should be killing predators, but I also don't think that we shouldn't be acting on the suffering of herbivores. So that we try to, reduce it. Maybe we can castrate predators and then castrate herbivores to kind of simulate natural selection because so that their populations don't blow up and they run out of food.
Okay. Okay. Um.
That's a huge endeavor, but
Yeah. Yeah. No, it is. It is.
our
And I think.
entire civilization is a massive endeavor. So,
Yeah. AJ, I want to get another quick question to you based on somewhat of something that Dillian said. If you were out in nature and you had a gun and a lion got a zebra, but you could tell the zebra was just like suffering, and for some reason the lion didn't put it out of its misery. The lion's just eating it alive, and you could shoot the zebra in the head and like kill it to put it out of its misery and let the lion just keep eating it, or you could just leave it alone and let nature do its thing. But let's say you knew it was going to suffer for another 30 seconds or a minute. Would you intervene in that case to put it out of its misery?
I mean,
If you knew you were a great shot, by the way.
right. I mean, I've never even held a gun in my life, but
Yeah.
let's say that I have, and let's say that I'm in that situation for some reason. It's a hypothetical, so I'm there with a gun, and and I see that situation. Now, let's say that in this hypothetical, I don't just go running the other way as fast as I can to escape the lion.
Hmm.
Because after they're done with the zebra, maybe they see me and they're like, "Hey, this guy," you know. So no. So let's say I shoot the. I don't know. I mean, I guess I could, but it's like I could and I could not. But I don't see it as my responsibility. So I don't know.
Okay.
Maybe I would being there and like being there in the moment. Maybe I would, but I don't know. What I think most
Hmm.
likely to happen is I just run in the other direction.
Gotcha. Travis, do you think it would be if we weren't able to just wipe out all the species you might want to wipe out, would you think it would be reasonable to have people roaming areas where maybe animals like lions and other predators are, and whenever they catch their catch and it's official that animal's not getting away from it, that we just take out that animal?
Yes.
Okay. Like, do you think it could maybe even be something worth patrolling, where if we weren't going to wipe out species or control them through fences and whatnot, that if when we go out to see if there's animals suffering to put out of their misery, it would include animals as they're caught by predators?
Yeah.
Gotcha. Do you have any thoughts that you probably have a lot of thoughts of all the ultimate things we could do with wildlife. What's maybe a top one that you can think of that that should be done? Is there like, do you prefer the idea of having prey versus predator, or like animals that are getting diseases? Like if an area is overpopulated by a certain animal, that you go and take out a certain percentage of them. What's at the top of your list?
I don't know what I would say is the top. Um,
Okay, well, what's one that we haven't discussed today that you think of that you think would be reasonable and we'd have the ability to do it?
well, one thing could maybe be like administering vaccines to wild animals.
Oh, interesting.
So, like, humans have vaccinated wild animals in the past, but it's mainly been for like human benefits because we're worried that these wild animals will pass on diseases to us. But we
Okay.
could, have a program where we administer vaccines to wild animals for like the benefit of the wild animals themselves.
Mm. Okay. Before you go on, because the V word was brought up, which is totally fine. Don't bring up the C word when it comes to vaccines. But okay. So let's hop to Isaac first, and then we'll go to AJ in a second. Isaac, what do you think of this? If we could vaccinate wild animals based on diseases they might give each other or get from other animals, does this seem like we're playing God too much, or does this seem like a great idea?
Nah, I think I'm in favor of it. It sounds like a pretty good idea to me. And yeah, I think like Travis said, I like the idea of kind of having another safeguard to stop diseases getting to humans as much. I feel like it's a much bigger problem with animals that we have and own and are farming than it is with wild animals. But
Hmm.
like, yeah, if we could find a vaccine for chronic waste disease, for instance, I think we should absolutely use it.
What's chronic waste disease?
It's like a really bad one in like deer and elk, and it can't spread to humans for the most part. I think there's been like one case or something where, but they were eating it in a really weird way. But yeah, it's a pretty big issue with with deer and elk specifically. So
Okay. AJ, what do you think of this? If humans are pretty smart, we make some vaccines that would help animals. Do we leave the animals alone, or do we do activities to benefit them?
Uh, I don't know, man. I don't know. Like to me, it's like I want to just separate everything and everyone. Like let them see for themselves and look at after themselves,
Mm.
and that's it. And we do our thing, and they do their thing. I don't know. Like to me, I don't know. It's just something I never even thought about. Like wild animals. What's that? we need to end this horrible thing that we do to them, and we haven't even scratched that surface yet, and then we're talking about some other issue that we're not even doing. Like, what is this? Like, I don't
Gotcha.
know.
Okay, Vabehav, what do you think of AJ's stance? Do you like the idea of leaving the wild animals alone, or should we intervene?
I don't think we should intervene because the only way to do it will be we'll have to stay there. Animals will see us regularly and they'll get friendly with humans, which is not good for them in a long term because no matter how hard you try, there will be, I forgot the word, people who shoot animals for fun, hunters. There will be hunters. Sometimes we won't be there to take to save them, or maybe we don't want to, and in that situation those animals will get friendly and they'll be like, okay, let's go towards this human, and they'll die. So I'd rather not do anything in the wild. But yeah, if you see a animal with a broken leg, so okay, shoot it. That's a different scenario. But I really don't want to intervene more than that.
Gotcha. Dillian, I'm gonna hop off topic real quick. Um, would you think that a society or a country should make it illegal to go hunting? Now, I know in our society, farming's all right, and other elements of factory farming are not. But in your perfect world, if you were to outlaw all the farming of all kinds, all the pets of all kinds, would you also say that if somebody went out into nature and killed like a deer or something, would you personally want that
Yeah,
illegal?
I think in a perfect world that would be outlawed, and I guess the things that I talked about when it comes to intervening with wildlife, that would ideally not be done by humans as well, but rather by uh, an artificial intelligence that's specifically designed for this task.
Gotcha.
If
Okay,
possible.
gotcha. Okay. Um, I'm currently. I don't think I would want it to be illegal to kill deer. I think Isaac's going to be on my side unless he's changed his mind since the last talk we've had. Um, Isaac, you're still in favor of hunting, correct?
Yep.
Okay. Would you say hunting for sport alone should be illegal?
Yeah. You should. I think there should be, and I think there are currently laws as to like that you have to take the meat from the animal. At least in most U.S. states, I think that is the
Okay.
case. So yeah, I think that you should be required to eat the meat. If you want to hunt for sport and for meat, that's fine. But you should definitely use the use the whole body of the animal to the best of your
Okay.
abilities.
Okay, so that was gonna just be an interesting question I had. I was inspired for this question because I had a debate with a fellow vegan recently about if humans should use fallen feathers, or some vegans say leave every part of the animal alone. So if we're accepting of hunting and somebody kills a deer, eats the deer, even though we think it might be distasteful to put a deer head on your wall, would you think that there should be a regulation, a rule, a law, or anything like that saying that that's just too disrespectful that you don't put a deer head on your wall, or are you in favor of deer heads?
I don't care too much either way. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, the animal's already dead. And like once something dies, I consider it not a like a not a being at that point. And so what happens to it? I think it's a bit odd, and I personally don't get it. But
Yeah,
I don't know if I'd go as far as to make it illegal. And
I
I
think I
mean,
feel. Oh, go for it.
there's also like I mean, deer and elk will shed their antlers like every season, and so you can just walk around the woods and find them on the ground and pick them up. And so and I think that even most vegans would probably be okay with that. I guess it's identical to the feather issue. And so if we're saying that's okay, then I don't really see a huge difference once they're dead in using those antlers. So
You might be right about most vegans, but I don't know about most vegans on YouTube. So going to AJ over here, I know that you think it's wrong to use feathers and that kind of thing, do you think it should be illegal? Like, should it be illegal if somebody saw a dead deer that got hit by a car and they wanted to cut the head off of that deer and put it on their wall for some reason, even though they didn't hunt it? Would you think that this is just gross and you don't like it? Or would you vote in favor of it if your government wanted to make it illegal?
I mean, I would vote. I would vote against it. Yeah, I would vote against it.
Okay. Then let's go to Vaibhav.
Yeah,
Would
so
you?
I am against taxidermy and that thing as well because it gives the feeling that okay, it's a kind of trophy and it inspires others.
Gotcha. Okay. Dillian, do you think it should be illegal to do
Yeah.
taxidermy or antler on your wall?
So yeah, I think that we should have laws that represent an idea that animals aren't objects for us to use. And so I guess if somebody got accidentally hit on the road and you wanted to take this person's head off and hang it on your wall, it's like, should you be allowed to do that?
Okay. Okay. So then let me bring it to a more difficult one. So I have a 7-year-old daughter and she loves feathers. It's not feathers plucked off of dead birds, but feathers that just fall and she finds them. She has a bag full of them. She collects them and she's been vegan since she's 7. She loves animals.
Mm.
In this society where I'm not saying because things are normal, we should not adjust. I think it's very good to change laws for the better. Do you think it would be illegal to play with feathers and use feathers for art, for wall art and stuff like that?
So for feathers, I basically, if they're not farmed, I would say it's okay because it would be something like the analogy would be something like collecting hair, or I don't know, collecting your child's teeth. I know some people do that when they fall off. It's
Yeah.
not uh, like it's not something that screams human supremacy like a deer's head on your wall.
What if I offered people all over the world money to send me their children's teeth so I could make a necklace to wear around my neck?
Oh yeah, that's that's a problem, I think.
Is it a legal problem or just point at that guy and say stay away from that guy?
Yeah, it's more of a that second type of problem.
Okay. Then I saved Travis for last on purpose. I think I know the answer because I think we are similar on this topic. Travis, do you have any thoughts on the legality of what happens to an animal after it's already dead? I always think Travis is gone, but then he's not gone.
Hello?
There he is.
I don't have any moral problem with it, like in a vacuum, but in terms of what the law should be, that would just depend on the consequences of the law. Like, if we allow this sort of thing, would it be the case that animals are viewed as they're viewed like they're devalued as a result of allowing this, whereas we don't allow it for humans? So I don't have a problem with it in a vacuum, but when it comes to like deciding what the law should be, it would just depend on the consequences.
If this is to you, Travis. If it became legal, well, right now it's not illegal in our society. If somebody's mom died and they wanted to make a taxidermy of their mom's head and put it on their wall, if it didn't cause a huge uproar and make people lose their mind, and it caused nobody to go hunting humans so they can have wall art, would you think that it should be legally acceptable to have human taxidermy head on your wall?
If it's not leading, yeah, I would say so in that circumstance.
Okay. Vaibhav, you have a funny look on your face. Do you think it should be legal to have
Yeah.
human head on your wall?
Yes, why not?
Okay.
and I have a feeling about feathers. So I think it's fine as long as we are not monetizing it.
Okay.
So
By the way,
it's perfectly fine as long as you are not monetizing the process.
Okay.
So you shouldn't be able to sell arts made from feathers and all. But otherwise, if you're collecting and you're using it for anything, it's fine.
Okay. Travis, what were you saying?
oh, I was gonna say, Contrarian left a comment in the live chat, and he said, "Does the panel presume the Sam Harris trope that suffering is objectively bad? I think that view is pretty weak philosophically. So, I don't think suffering is objectively bad. I don't know about the other people on this panel."
I do, and I don't know if I got my stance exactly from Sam Harris and the Moral Landscape, which I'm a huge fan of, and I think it's somewhere back here. But yes, if anything were, if any element of morals was going to be objective in my mind, it would be that suffering is morally wrong, or morally bad. Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's a certain amount of suffering that comes with just being alive that I think for most part it would be reasonable suffering. There would be self-imposed suffering in some cases, I guess. But there's also unreasonable suffering that's, imposed on others. There's torture. So I think there should be a distinction there between the levels.
For sure, for sure. Um, okay, we do got to hop off here because there is another talk coming up at 11, and I need a little break to get some more coffee. Does anybody want to throw in any other thoughts? I mean, I have a lot of notes to go off of for potential animal rights laws.
All
But
right.
yeah, AJ, what do
We
you got?
can.
Yeah. No, I only
You go
I
ahead. You go
wanted to
ahead.
be here because I had a question because it kind of caught my attention right in the voting how basically the society outlawed basically all the things that were like the most welfareist approach were the ones that got like approved or something like the dehorning was banned, I guess,
Mm-hmm.
if I remember correctly, and then the branding and all that got banned, but then animal farming was not. So
Mm-hmm.
to me, it was like, okay, but what's the logic behind it? Like, who voted for the dehorning and then voted to keep farming animals? Like,
I
what's
did.
their thought process on that? Because I just don't get it.
Yeah, well, let me tell you real quick. So let's just compare dehorning to farms. So there's 28 people that voted that their votes are still listed because a couple people I kind of put in the group without seeing if they wanted in the group. Okay, so dehorning, it was 18 yes and 8 no's. And then with the farm animals, it was 16 no's and 11 yeses. And so it looks like approximately 2 people off from those two choices. Well, what's interesting is Vabehave here said no to the dehorning one. Dehorning should stay allowed, but farming should not. And in that case, it's because Vabehab, who's a vegan, has sanctuary animals that he has to do some form of dehorning to keep them safe. But he thinks that all farming should be gone. So that's why that goes in one.
I voted for no for dehorning because the way other people do it is really dangerous. I voted no for dehorning.
Right.
Oh, I thought you did. Okay. I thought you
No,
went
no,
the
no.
other way. Okay.
Yeah, because I do it every 3 months.
Yeah. Well, actually, Isaac, do you want to answer this question? Because I think you voted on all 4 against the animal ones, except for the last one, which I voted the same way. But I've talked to AJ a million times on that topic. So, Isaac, do you want to share why you went with one and not the other?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's just the quality of the lives of the animals should be as good as possible. But so, like, I think that we should have like really big fields for cows and pigs and whatever. and we should, I guess, not intervene as much as possible. But I don't think that animals have this like inherent right to life or something, and so like I'm still fine. I'm pro hunting. I mentioned earlier. Can't remember if you were here, and so I think it's fine to kill animals for food and stuff. But I think we should do the best that we can to make their lives as good as possible. And so that's why I chose, to be in favor of farming and to be against the other things. And I guess kind of like Carson mentioned earlier, I think we should allow them to breed on their own. We shouldn't really be involved in that process. I think that, that's not something we should have to try hard to do. I don't like, for instance, like taking the babies away from like the mother cows. Like, I think that's pretty terrible. Like we shouldn't do that. We should just let them basically do what they would in the wild. And then, yeah, I think it's okay as long as we make their lives as good as possible to still use them for food.
Yeah. And then, so I'm trying to think. Chris is not vegan, but he voted on all 5, including the farming one, to make it illegal because he's only not vegan because his own words, he says he's grew up with it, he's used to it, and he can't help himself. But he wished it was illegal so he could legally be forced to be vegan because he thinks vegan's a moral way to go. Phil, who is not vegan, voted for all 4 of the harm ones to be illegal, but not the factory, or sorry, not the farming itself because he's not vegan. And I'm guessing he has a similar idea as Isaac. And then, yeah.
Oh, I was gonna ask Isaac, what's the morally relevant difference between animals and humans, such that you would think animals don't have a right to life, but humans do?
I don't think that humans have a inherent right to life either. So yeah, like I would be comfortable with another species coming and farming us.
Are you a utilitarian?
I think in a lot of cases, yes, but I'm not going to say across the board, but I think it's kind of case by case.
Are you saying this just because you've had this conversation and you think it would be hypocritical of you to not be okay with aliens farming us, and not because you would actually be fine with it in a real life situation?
This was actually like my very first talk with Carson, was over this hypothetical. This is kind of what I brought to him, is like if they basically if like an alien species came and basically like gave us the option
Yeah.
so that we could live for like 50 years, but they would give us really really good lives and we could basically do whatever we want. Then at 50 years they would kill us and use us for food. I personally would have no issues with that, and I would accept that deal. I can understand other people being against that, but I personally think it would be fine.
I mean,
What if
the
it was
thing is,
5 years?
Again, I think it depends. And again, it should be very good, but I mean, I don't think that 5 years would make much sense because you don't get big enough to like, be good for food. Like at that point, that'd be like just killing baby animals, which just doesn't make much sense.
Yeah, I
So,
mean,
but
people do it
like,
with lambs and basically chickens. They have
Oh.
domesticated
Yeah.
them to the point where they grow so big they can't even walk,
and yeah, that's
and they
messed
kill
up.
them as
And
babies.
so yeah, like I would be against that. For instance, if they like came and said, hey, we're gonna make it so you grow super fast, so then in 10 years or whatever, you're like the same size as like 25-year-old person. Like
Yeah, like
that
chickens.
that I would be against.
With
Yeah, but
chickens, they inject them with the hormones, and then they grow so fast their legs break. And so, yeah, you're against that. And he already claimed earlier that he's against veal, taking the baby calf away from the mom. And so I'm guessing, Isaac, are you against lamb as well, just for the age sake?
Yeah.
Okay.
well, the thing is, even if you're fine with farming animals in principle, in practice, 99% of farms are factory farms. So, on a utilitarian view, I would think that banning animal farming would be net positive.
In practice, 99% of farms are not animal farms, but 99% of animal products are come from factory farms.
Yeah, and I
I mean,
think
I kind of scrambled that. Sorry. 99% of farms are not factory farms, but 99% of products would come from the factory farms because they're so productive.
Yeah, I meant to say that 99% of farm animals live in factory farms.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, there's
yeah,
a really cool video. I'll send it over to you guys. Isaac's one of the first people that, especially first non-vegans, to talk to me on this channel, on my regional vegan channel. And there's really cool conversations in there because his ideas, I like them actually, but it would basically be being on a big piece of land, growing all your own produce, having all the healthy fruits and veggies, and then the only meat you eat is hunted, like deer meat or whatever, or a regenerative type farm thing. So we
Yeah,
don't have
and
any further time to get into that, but we could set up a debate in the future. I think I'm sure Isaac would be fine debating vegan topics. I do want to share, because AJ was asking, I do want to share my stance on it, because I think the reason I voted to outlaw dehorning and all those things, but I don't outlaw farming completely, is slightly different than Isaac's, but really close. Basically, I feel like veganism is new enough that we do not have enough information to guarantee that the healthiest approach for humans is to not consume animals. I know enough for myself that I'm willing to take that risk, but if we were to find out that it was healthier to eat animals, I think that humans, I find it reasonable, since I would do it myself, that whatever you have to do to be approximately the healthiest you can be and live the best life, I would just let it slide. I just don't think that's the case. I think we're something like chimpanzees, where we're mostly just supposed to eat fruit and then some veggies, some nuts and stuff like that. And I think the world will go vegan someday, but I think it's new enough that we don't have enough information that I want to force other people to not go hunting or have big areas for cows and
Would
stuff
you
like
take
that.
the same
Yeah, I don't
position
think
on
it's
eating
that weird.
humans?
Same position on eating humans? No, I would not. I think morally, yes, but legally, no. I think it's very important for like the reason humans should not be out in nature and should have a society is that we get together and say, hey, let's make some laws and protect ourselves so we can feel safe. So we say nobody can kill each other, nobody can punch each other, nobody can steal from each other. And you have these set laws, so you have a government that protects you. So even if you are as intelligent as a cow, the government protects you so the rest of us can feel safe. But no, if we're all out in nature and somebody has the intelligence of a cow and humans are healthy for you to eat, by all means, I'd totally eat that human.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but why shouldn't the government also protect cows and
We
other
should
animals?
protect as well as we can. We should do what we're able to do with our resources and with our knowledge. And so, let's say humans had we knew that there was a certain level of health you could get to, and that if humans were to go vegan, they would automatically have half the amount of health. I would say the government shouldn't protect the animals to let the humans have half the amount of health, because in that case, with half the amount of health, we would be basically obligate omnivores or something like it, because we can call it surviving, but our health is cut in half. Now, we don't have that case, but that's just a hypothetical of why I wouldn't think a human government would protect animals. And
what if,
yeah.
What
Go.
if not eating intellectually disabled humans cut our health in half?
Oh, what if not eating humans did that?
Yeah.
Oh, then we should probably farm humans to some level where we are focused on kind of a utilitarian stance. It would be something like, well, hopefully we would just make a fake meat that's a human meat. But I don't know, probably take out the extremely challenged people or the babies first. Something like that.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, Carson, it's not that new of a thing. Like, you've had, there are studies from literally hundreds of years ago, like the China study and the Adventist study. You've had, I
Like
guess,
full on veganism, especially from birth, is way less than 100 years old. I'm for it. No, don't get me wrong. I've been 100% vegan aside from bivalves. Sorry, AJ. Aside from bivalves, for 8 years now. I'm vegan. I think the world should be vegan. I think the world will be vegan. But there is no way we can consider the current studies enough to say that we know for a fact. We didn't even know until like the 1950s what a B12 vitamin was. We didn't even understand or comprehend that. So it's pretty new. It's pretty fresh. In the future, when there's enough studies, there's a lot of things that are complicated and hard to know what's healthy, what's not healthy based on it being natural or not natural. But I think it's pretty safe to say that using meth is not healthy for you. As soon as we have enough understanding to declare that veganism is healthfully good for you the same way that we know meth is not good for you, sure. Outlaw it. It should be completely outlawed. I don't even know if I would fight against it being outlawed now. I just think it's a bit much of a push considering all of human history, millions of years of doing what we've done and then an automatic force in such a short time. I don't know.
No, I think meth. There are not enough studies to prove that it's bad for you. I mean, it's a relatively new thing, dude. We synthesized it like what in the 1900s. We shouldn't ban it. Like we shouldn't force people not to have meth.
I think we have wildly different outcomes. We can see that certain types of meats will be classed as a certain classification of carcinogen, and that's important to get that information out there. But comparing all forms of animal eating to meth it's kind of rough. But hey,
I mean,
say this last thing, but then I do got to hop off here because I only got 10 minutes to grab my coffee. But yeah, what's up, Travis?
well, I was just gonna say, if there were a human holocaust happening, like billions of humans were being tortured and killed every year, and like all like the relevant, trillions really, all the relevant like health authorities agreed that a non-cannibal diet was sufficiently healthy, I wouldn't say that we should not end the human holocaust because of some speculation that maybe if we don't end it, we'll suffer health problems.
No, you do make a good point, and I think this is worth going over further. We should have many different talks on this topic. I don't think it's that simple. I hope the consensus is at where you're claiming it is. I don't think it's quite there. I feel like in fact, almost every turn I take listening to various different experts and just the consensus, looking at like meta-analysis, it doesn't seem to always push in that direction. And it seems like there are a lot of complications. But yeah, no, I think you're right. I think depending on the level of likelihood, the amount of information we have, there would be reason to have concern. So don't get me wrong. I don't think we should eat humans. Anyways, yeah, it's complicated. We should. I think we had a good
video.
What's that?
Okay, for next video, 30 seconds. Just give me 30 seconds.
Yeah.
I have a subject that I forgot to arrange. How animals are killed in farms. We really need to think about it because they shouldn't be able to cut their throat and let them suffer for minutes. I think
Okay.
it should be mandatory to shoot them in the head.
Okay.
Really quickly, I just want to respond to what Travis said a long time ago. I just never got the chance to talk. Yes, I am utilitarian enough that I would be in favor of banning all farming just for the sake of banning factory farming, even though I think farming can be done in ways that are ethically and morally acceptable. So sorry, I just wanted to.
Yeah, and
just
maybe
never got the chance.
later, not now, because it's a whole other topic. We can talk about the sheer impossibility of having this free range type of animal farming just happen with current demand.
Yeah, no, that'd be good too. Jerem is in the comments saying that my speciesism is showing. I am very speciesist.
I think it's
so
No,
very-
you're not speciesist. You're a human supremacist. That's all it is.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like Isaac here, even though he would be an alien supremacist, apparently.
I think
He'd
that
be like,
animal
"Really?"
farming is
Yeah.
like the one thing that's a make or break thing to whether or not the whole human species is worth to have a civilization here on Earth or not. I
Okay.
think it's
Well,
the one thing we need to end.
yeah, and let's set up some different talks. I would like to have one-on-ones with all you guys, and maybe Isaac would be up for doing one-on-ones with you guys as well. Oh, Jeremy's here in the comments. Okay,
Hey,
I
Jeremy.
gotta hop off here to get my coffee. But hey, in about 10 minutes,
too.
we're gonna do another talk, and I don't know if any of you guys are interested and up for it, but it's gonna be it's gonna be on government involvement with marriage. Now, it was kind of a silly law to bring up is the sibling marriage, but I think there's good reason to discuss
Yeah, I'm
it.
up. I'll be there. Bye.
Okay, so yeah, I think Isaac's gonna be there. Travis, if you have time, you should be there. Jeremy and Jerem, please hop in. And I gotta go pee and I gotta get coffee. But
Yeah,
we're
me
gonna
too.
we're gonna talk about that and some other stuff. Take care, guys.
All right.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.